As an economics major, you have no doubt spent some time in class discussing our current financial predicament. What, briefly, have you learned about the root causes of the collapse?
I'd like to draw it back to regulation. Regulation is something that gets brought up a lot as an issue or a cause. And I disagree with the generalization that it was the lack of regulation. The regulators that we had weren't really doing their jobs. Like, I'll give you an example. If you look at the Bernard Madoff thing, people were complaining about that guy since 1970, saying that something's up with this guy. You need to look into what he's doing. Things just aren't right. And for decades and decades, people brought this to the attention of the regulators, and nothing was ever done about it. Now, these type of things could be something that is an issue with a conflict of interest, or is the SEC, for example, says that they don't have the adequate funding to police the system correctly. So we need to look at all of those issues and go back and make sure that there is no conflicts of interest, make sure that the agencies that are supposed to be doing this are doing their jobs, they have the money to do it. And that's essentially what I would say. I mean, we don't really need more regulation, we just need the regulation that we have to work.
Let's bring this a little bit closer to home here in Michigan. The administration has given GM and Chrysler pretty tough ultimatums on getting their companies in order, including forcing the resignation of GM CEO Rick Wagner, and a 60-day window for them to create a plan to restructure. What do you see in the future for GM, and do you think it was wise to take out the CEO while simultaneously imposing such strict timetables on their restructure?
Well, now that the government is a stakeholder in these car companies, they effectively can do those types of things. Going back prior to that, I disagree with jumping in to save them in the first place. It was definitely, in the long term, these companies need to get a lot smaller or go out of business. They've already proven that they can't make money, because when the economy was doing good, they really still weren't profitable, and now that when the economy's bad, they're getting ready to go under. The company should have forced him out on its own without the administration's help, because he has been an ineffective CEO with the lack of speed with the restructuring that they've needed. Now that he has been forced out, and the timetable that they've been given, it's going to be, quite honestly, a miracle if they can get those things done in the time that they've been allotted.
Finally, what local employment opportunities do you see as being the most profitable and sustainable for people in the state? In other words, what major would you advise an undecided freshman to go after? And also, where do you see, what do you see as the most likely career for yourself as an economics major after graduation?
Well, as far as the job market's concerned, and for majors specifically, I would advise somebody to keep their options open to just about anything that they want to do. People are concerned that they may not be able to find a job as they leave college because of the current economic malaise, but there's a more positive trend going on. Most of the layoffs that are going on right now are older workers, seasoned workers that are getting pushed out, forced to retire, things of that nature, and companies have essentially not slowed their pace of hiring new workers. There's a strategic motive behind that, essentially because older workers, they need to get paid more. They often demand pensions and health insurance, and younger workers that are up and coming don't need any of that. You know, like, you can take myself for example. I have my own health insurance, I have my own IRA, I don't need a pension, and I'll essentially work for less money than a seasoned veteran. I look at myself going into the financial services industry. I get a lot of questions about the pace of layoffs and problems that financial companies are having, but from what I've learned through interviews and job searching is that those jobs are still available and going to be increasingly available. With the problems that we're having with the economy, people have a lot of questions about where they should invest, what to do with their money, and as the troubles can increase, those type of questions that and answers and solutions that people need are going to increase. And essentially, I can see myself or other economics or finance majors moving into that area to sort of fulfill that role.